Welcome to First Baptist Cedar Bluff, where we are offering Christ to the world. Thank you for joining us today. Please be advised that our worship service will begin shortly.
Theme with Joseph, the Lord was with him. Back to verse 1 through 5, verse 2 in particular, again, the Lord was with Joseph and he became a successful man, and he was in the house of his Egyptian master. I want to talk, teach, and preach from this subject just for a few minutes today, accompanied by the Lord. That's what we want to talk about, accompanied by the Lord. The Lord was with Joseph. And because the Lord was with Joseph, it also means that Joseph was with the Lord. And Joseph was with the Lord at times, in portions in his life, where he didn't even know he was with the Lord because the Lord was with him. I don't know how you feel about it, but on this tedious journey, I need the Lord. You pay attention to Joseph's life. His life went down before it went up. And let nobody fool you because you are going through something today. Don't let nobody fool you and you make the false conclusion that because I'm going through, it means that the Lord is mad at me. It could be that the Lord is setting you up for something later on in your life. The Lord was, the narrative of Joseph, the story of Joseph is highly intriguing to a comprehending mind. I want you to catch that again. I said it's highly intriguing. It's interesting to a comprehending mind, an understanding mind. If you have an understanding mind, a comprehending mind, this story is very interesting. It's very intriguing. Derek Kittner wrote, like Isaac and Jacob before him, Joseph is introduced as a specially chosen member of his family. This divine election is one of the themes of Genesis. When you read Genesis, you will see that God divinely selects individuals for certain seasons in history. This divine election is one of the themes of Genesis. And God's design is seen to be no more prevented by the indiscretions of its allies than by the malice of its opponents. It simply means that nothing can stop God's agenda. Joseph's life and journey discloses that God's favor, I want you to catch it now, God's favor often produces a certain amount of worldly mistreatment. To be favored by God, it sets you up to be mistreated by the world. Contextually, this concept seems to surface not only in Joseph's life, but in lives such as Job and Jesus. In Job chapter 14, verse number 1, Job, he testifies and tells us that man that's born of a woman is of a few days, and those days are full of trouble. Jesus tells us that when God's favor is on your life, the world will reject you. You see it in Matthew chapter 21, verse number 42, as Jesus talked to the chief priests and the Pharisees. Jesus said, have you never read in the scriptures, the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. It's the Lord's doing, and it's marvelous in our eyes. So contextually, this concept seems to surface in the life and testimony of Job and Jesus. What is it? Trouble. Trouble have a way of finding us. Trouble, being inevitable, is one of life's harsh realities. One can conclude with certainty that if it were not for the Lord's heroic efforts and his sustaining grace, Joseph would not have made it in Egypt. Joseph would have perished in Egypt. Have you ever taken into consideration the fact that before Joseph ruled in the palace, he endured the rigors of a pit. He had to endure mistreatment at Potiphar's house, and he also had to endure prison. It seems to suggest that the more faithful Joseph was to the Lord, the more hardships he endured in life. Joseph had favor in his life because the Lord was with him. He had favor in his life because the Lord was with him. And this favor caused him to be faithful. But because he was faithful, he had to endure hardships over and over again. The man had prophetic dreams because the Lord was with him. He survived the mistreatment of his brothers because the Lord was with him. Joseph, he made it to the place of destiny because the Lord was with him. And I stop by to tell you, if the Lord is with you, no matter what come up against you in life, you still can make it. Kidna added the account of the dreams coming at the outset. It makes God, not Joseph, the hero of the story. Joseph, he was a dreamer. It is not a tale of human success, but divine sovereignty. Don't miss it today. This story is really not about Joseph, but it's about God. It's about God's sovereignty and his saving grace. And I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm thankful for the saving grace of God. If I am successful in life, my smarts didn't do it. My looks didn't get me there. It's all God's doing. When the Lord is in your company, weapons will form, but they won't prosper. The way you conduct yourself in someone else's house says a lot about you. I think I need to say it again. I said the way you conduct yourself in somebody else's house, it says a lot about you. You got to watch where you're sitting at today, because this is not your house. This is the Lord's house. We even call it the house of prayer. And the way you conduct yourself in somebody else's house, it says a lot about you. If you pay attention to Joseph, he wasn't in his house in the text. He was in Potiphar's house. But he knew how to act in somebody else's house. That's not far-fetched today, because we live in the house. We live in the body. The Bible calls this body a temple or a house. But it's something about this body, this temple that we live in. It's not ours. No, we have been purchased. We have been bought with a price. This is really not our house. We're just staying in it for a little while. And while we stay in it, we're not really paying nobody no rent. But we in this house. Now, it says a lot about you, about your character and about your attributes, the way you conduct yourself in somebody else's house. God say, since you are in my house, you ought to keep my house holy. Have you been keeping God's house holy lately? The text highlights a young man who was sold into slavery, serving as an officer / captain of the guardhouse. He was sold into slavery, but he was serving in an officer / captain of the guardhouse. It was this individual who purchased Joseph, that's Potiphar, from the Ishmaelites. Kidna noted Ishmaelites was an inclusive term for Israel's nomadic cousins. Potiphar, unknowingly now, purchased a person that the Lord was with. Potiphar didn't know who he was purchasing. He thought he was getting ahead in life. And he really was, because he was purchasing the person that the Lord was with. It is a wonderful thing to have a person living nearby whom the Lord is with. Did you catch that today? In your house, you should make sure you have somebody living in close proximity of you. As you live in your house, you want somebody that the Lord is with living near you as you live in your house. The Lord was with Joseph. Also, we see Joseph living in somebody else's house. And Potiphar, he set himself up to be blessed because he had a person that the Lord was with living in his house. That's the evaluation of Joseph. And this evaluation, it leads to the depiction of Joseph. Joseph, he was a successful man. That's the depiction. He was successful. He was a successful man. Now, if you're going to choose or pick somebody to live in your house, you want them to be successful. What made Joseph a successful man is that the Lord accompanied him on life's journey. If you are going to pick a person to dwell in your house, pray that the Lord is with the person. He had enough sense to promote Joseph while Joseph was in his house because the Lord was with him. This is where we go astray at, because we can even figure out and detect that, wait a minute, the Lord is with that person, and instead of promoting the person in our house, what we'll do, we'll try to pull the person down. But Potiphar, he realized through observation that everything Joseph did, the Lord calls. We live in a day where sensible observation is missing in most homes. I want you to get that. I say we live in a day where sensible observation is missing in most homes. We've been promoting the wrong person to come dwell in our homes. We often promote the wrong people to come in fellowship in our place of residence. I'm not talking about that brick and mortar house you live in now. I'm not talking about your trailer now. I'm talking about how you often promote people to come in fellowship in your house body now that you live in. Why? Because we seek out the wrong stuff. We look for muscles and pay no attention to the mind. We look for wealth and pay no attention to work ethics. We look for luxury and pay no attention to love. And we end up getting somebody that's going to mistreat us in black eyes. The depiction of Joseph highlights the distinction of Joseph. Joseph, he was so distinct from the others that Potiphar made Joseph overseer of the house. Potiphar, he was on the right track because he set his house up right, because he realized that he had the right man in his house. And I stopped by to tell us, like Potiphar, we need to make sure that we got the right man in our house. I'm not talking about Joseph now. I'm looking further down the road to a man who's the same today, yesterday, and forevermore. You need to make sure you got the right person in your house. He's a perfect man. I'm skipping over some stuff now because my soul is getting excited, because I realized that I made one good decision in my life, and I invited the right man to come and set up my house. Do you know who he is? He's Mary's little baby, the bright and the morning star, the lily of the valley, the great I am. His name is Jesus. The question becomes, do you have Jesus living in your house? Potiphar gave the Lord credit for Joseph's success. I'm going somewhere with this. What did you just say? I said Potiphar realized that the Lord was with Joseph. And then Potiphar gave the Lord credit for Joseph's success. What are you saying? Potiphar, he was a pagan officer. Potiphar, he was a pagan captain. And this pagan officer / captain gave the Lord credit because of a man's action. I stopped by to tell you, your actions actually matter. Have you been living well enough in front of others that they conclude that the Lord is present? When the world see you, is the world conclusion this: the Lord's present? When you walk up to those group of drinkers, do they realize that the Lord is present? When you are in the presence of all of those smokers, do they realize that the Lord is present? When you are invited to the wrong party and you walk through the door, do all those party animals realize, wait a minute, I can't twist and turn like I want to twist and turn, because I realize that because she just walked through the door, because he just walked through the door, the Lord is now present. Have you been living well enough that when the world see you, they see the Lord? And even heathens have to give God a certain amount of reverence because of you. You should live in such a way that your conduct says, God is here. That's how you should live. You should be convicted about certain things and principles that people say, wait a minute, we can't do this in front of her or him because God is here. And because you represent the true and living God, there's certain things that we're just not comfortable doing when you are here.
Thank you for tuning in to FBCB Ministries. For the full-length message or other resources, please visit our website at fbcbministries.com. Please follow, like, share our content on all social media platforms. Until next time, FBCB Ministries, offering Christ to the world, a church that is word-centered, word-led, and word-driven.